Hey guys! We both waved at the same time. Matt and the boys are not feeling good, so Isabella and I are going to the grocery store to pick up some things that we need to make some vegetables / bone broth. Typically I make just a veggie broth or bone broth, but I figure I'll throw both in this time around. So we're gonna go head over to the store to pick some things up that we need to make it, and then when we get back we will show you guys how we make our vegetables / bone broth. So we will see you guys soon. Bloop, bloop. Okay guys, so I just want to start off by saying 2 days after shooting this video and starting to edit this, I ended up catching whatever the boys had, and so if you notice that I sound nasally or stuffed, that is why. So I just want to give you guys that heads up before we get started. So when choosing your ingredients or your produce to add into your vegetable or bone broth, you don't really need anything too specific. It's usually to personal preference. But the two things that I would highly recommend whenever making it would be ginger and garlic. I never go without either of them, and I usually put extra. My family and I, we love garlic and we love ginger, so we always add extra no matter what we're making. If it calls for ginger and if it calls for garlic, we are gonna add extra. So those two I do highly recommend, not just because we love the flavors, but they're just super beneficial for you. If you look at the health benefits, they are like a powerhouse when it comes to health foods. So definitely go for ginger and garlic. Now in choosing bones, I usually always get beef bones, and I will get beef marrow bones and beef feet, because the marrow bones is great for the marrow, of course, but the beef feet is also a great source for collagen. So I always get both the marrow and the beef feet. Now that we're home, we're going to go ahead and soak our produce. We want to do this prior to using it, just to remove any of the gunk that's on there, because of course we don't want that in our food. So how we're going to do this is we're going to fill up our sink with water, just enough to cover the veggies, and then we're going to add 2 cupfuls of apple cider vinegar, and then we're going to go ahead and let that soak for about 10 to 15 minutes. While those soak, we're going to go ahead and give our bones a kind of like a pre-boil. And what this is going to do is it's going to remove all of the junk. Now, anytime you boil bones or even any meat, there's usually like a film of like foam at the top. We don't want any of that in our broth. So that is why we're going to do this pre-boil, to remove all of that prior to using the bones. You see all that junk floating at the top? That is the stuff we don't want in our broth, so this is why we did this step. So after you boiled for about 5 minutes, we're going to take it off, go ahead and drain it, and we're going to rinse our pot and our bones really well to make sure we get all that junk off. Then we can go ahead and refill our pot with fresh water. Now we're going to be adding a few more things to our broth right now, and as you can see, I'm just roughly chopping the ginger. Don't even worry about peeling the ginger because we won't be using it other than making our broth, so you can go ahead and just roughly chop it and throw it right into the pot. And the same thing goes for the leek. I just cut off the end, and again, just roughly chopping, I cut it in half and threw that into the pot as well. And same thing with the parsley, I literally just cut the ends off and threw that right into the pot. So just keep in mind when you are seasoning your broth, you are going to be using more seasoning than you typically would when you're making like a soup, just because when you are drinking it, it's going to be by itself. You won't be eating it with any meat or anything like that. So we do add a little bit more seasoning just because we really want it to be flavorful when we are drinking it by itself. When adding your salt, you don't want to start off adding too much just because you don't want your broth to end up too salty when you're finished. So what I do is I'll add some salt while I'm cooking it, and then when my broth is done, I'll go ahead and give it a taste to see if it needs more. And if it does, then I can go ahead and always add more, but you don't want to add too much to begin with, and then your broth ends up too salty.
You call that a tad? We're gonna be. Hello, making this broth for Dad, Elijah, and David Eno. Bone broth. Now let's mix all that together. Peppers, rosemary leaves, bay leaves, sea salt flakes, and whole black pepper. 2/4?
We're going to do it in half this way.
So this.
And then after cutting it in half, we're going to lay it on the flat side and then cut it in half this way. When it's time to rinse your veggies, just be sure to give them a really good rinse, not only to remove the apple cider vinegar water, but also just to remove any remaining dirt and debris that's on your veggies. After rinsing the veggies, you want to be sure that you dry them really well because we're going to be roasting these and coating them in olive oil, so you want to be sure that the olive oil adheres to the vegetables properly.
So onion, celery, garlic, and
So I know it says to leave your veggies for 25 minutes to roast them, but when I looked at them, I noticed that they weren't really that roasted, and went and threw them in the pot anyway. I usually do it for about 35 to 45 minutes, and it wasn't until after I was done that I realized that. So if you want your veggies more roasted, just go ahead and leave them in the oven longer.
good. All good. Okay, now we just gotta let that sit. Oh, I'm learning. All done. Yummy. Can I try an onion? Hot. Okay, you try an onion, guys. Came from here.
So initially I was just going to make this on the side to drink with our dinner, but Isabella asked if we could have this for dinner instead. So we went ahead and added some of the veggies from the pot because they had only been cooking for about 6.5 hours. They were still good. And then we also had some leftover rice from the night before, so we went ahead and added that to our bowls as well. Typically, we won't add anything to our broth. We will just drink it straight out of a mug. But if you want to add stuff to it, that's completely fine. And if not, and you want to drink it all by itself, that's totally fine too. So this is it, you guys. This is what our broth looks like after cooking for 6.5 hours. If you guys do end up trying the recipe, let us know how you liked it. And if you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We'll see you guys later.